Hello, so I'm Sos Sosowski, and I want to tell you about my kind of quest of making this VR game. So I'm making this game by accident. I'm gonna tell you the story about it. It's if to begin, I will tell you that this is my pitch for the game is that it's a game about humans that do this. So to describe it, but to the beginning, I need to click this. So I'm Sos Sosowski. Do you see this? That's me. I'm probably most known for this GIF. And I'm a bit less known for making a game called McPixel. It's a game about kicking people in the crotch, peeing on aliens, and explosions. And it was actually the first game to ever be promoted by the Pirate Bay. And it was the first game to get on Steam through Greenlight. This is when Steam realized that Greenlight might not be such a good idea. And I generally make bad games and make a lot of them. And so I emailed, when there was the VR hype, I was like kind of skeptical about it, but then I went to GDC and got really excited. So I emailed the Vive team, was like, hey, actually I do all these tiny shitty games, and I can you don't have really much games for VR, so I can maybe cook something up, something small, not commercial, but just something to, a simple multiplayer game for two people in a Vive where you're this body and there's another body and you have to punch a face. If you punch somewhere else, you lose. But I didn't have multiplayer working, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the simplest AI I could for the enemies, and the AI was simple. If the chest is below 1 meter, bump the chest up, so the guys would be like. And I was like, okay, and then I started punching them, but they would just move away a bit. So I was like, this is not fun. I should crank up the volume of punching. And I cranked it up a bit too much and recorded this GIF and uploaded it. And this is where it all went down. So this got 4,300,000 views in the first 24 hours. And I was like, I woke up in the next morning. I was like, I just sealed my fate for the next year with a single GIF of a game made in half an hour. And then the response was terrible. It was just my Twitter was dead, the Reddit was dead, and the press jumped on it. And people wanted to give me money for this right away. I was like, yeah, people were like, hey, post it on Steam right now for $5. Or people saying, wait, which was it? Yeah, there's kill screen and metal stuff and this one. And yeah, okay, anyways. The response was overwhelming. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this into a game now, but what should it be? So the truth is, I was kind of making this before. I tried to work with these humans. So I got this human model, I tried rigging it, but it's not that easy. So it's kind of broken and does that weird thing. So I was like, okay, I can fix it. But then it was it was really resistant. So I had to I actually did hang him from the bar so I could work with him. And I tried to make him be kind of tame him so I could control him somehow, but it just wouldn't work. Yeah, so I was but I didn't quit. I was still trying, and in the end, it kind of looked like something. So I was like, okay, this might actually work. So I was like, okay, how can I control him? So I started dragging him with the mouse. I was like, I'm gonna teach you how to walk, okay? But it was also hard. It's coming back from a party. So I was like, okay, what kind of game can I make from it? Maybe I'll make a sports game. So I added more of these. Tried to teach them to walk. But there were two different approaches I could take, and I hated both of them. One was simple controls. You press forward, and the guy just does weird walk. And the other one is kind of co-op one, so you have control over all of his limbs, and you can walk, but it's super hard to walk, and it's actually impossible to control. And I hated both of them, because approach one did not give you the control over the body that you have. There's so much stuff you can do with that. It's like a human. And the other approach was just uncontrollable because of the complexity and inability to control it with a simple controller. So okay, how about I will not control it? I will shoot them. You will be the enemies. But then I was I wasn't good in Unity, and this is how the game looked. And it was all glitchy. Everything was glitching out. It didn't really work well. So I shelved it. I was like, okay, yeah, this is just gonna explode. Everything they just kept exploding all the time. So then the VR came, and I was like, So I got the Vive headset, I put the same model I had into the game, and I was like, hey, this works. I can touch butts. I can have more of them, and this is like, even though they're broken, they look kind of good, and like even if stuff breaks down, it's creepy, but it doesn't look like it's terribly broken. Like this VR thing is working completely differently. Even like you can punch him, he will like dissolve into this mess of. Still, that works. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go crazy on it. Okay, so I'm just gonna I kept adding whatever. This is like a feature where you can shoot chickens from your hands, because why not? Then I added grabbing. I was like, okay, I'm gonna grab them. Maybe I can stretch them. And throw them away. And so then I realized that I actually have no idea what I'm doing. Actually, the first website of the game was just like a GIF, and it said, I have no idea what I'm doing, the game. So I just kept adding stuff, seeing what holds up, what doesn't hold up. My curse is that I'm immune to motion sickness, so I kept adding stuff that kind of does a lot of motion sickness. And I want to talk to you about like a lot of discoveries that I did, what I put in the game, what worked, what didn't work, and okay, so let's go. This is how it all began. This is how I started making this game actually by accident. And now, so actually a lot of people ask me like, what is the future of VR? And when you think about it, like the hardware is there. It's gonna evolve. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get smaller. It's gonna get lighter. It's gonna get cordless, and it's gonna get cheaper. It's gonna be more affordable and easier to set up. So this is happening. This is gonna happen. That's not stoppable. What the problem is the software. The software is going like everywhere. Like people just trying stuff. Like it's like throwing poop against the wall and seeing what sticks. And a lot of things doesn't stick, and a lot of things do stick. And I think it's good that we do it. It's good that we do failures, and it's good that we make things that actually do work. It's good that we have kind of casual things for the VR as well. But then people like, I get the question if the VR is gonna hold up, and if that depends on the software. And I look at my game, I think we're all gonna starve to death. So, anyways, the game is all about physics, and physics are weird. Where's Ruan? Is Ruan here? Evan is here. Evan and Ruan talked about physics if you were here in the morning. So basically in VR you are infinitely powerful and you can go into anything. So if this is a thing, if this was a VR thing, I could put my hand and my head inside it. I could grab it and I could lift it. And there's no way to prevent the player doing that. I can do it so that like it doesn't have a physical body, so it's just like there. But then it's not fun at all. So what happens is this. Look, physics is all about forces. It's controlled by the force. So basically when you add joints, like that was what Evan said, add joints to things, and that was what Ruan said as well, to make them look more realistic. But then when you apply too much, like when you put the joints too far apart, it will apply extraordinary forces making this happen. So what you can do about it is nothing. So this is fun. Just add teeth to make it look. So basically, even so more, in VR you're just like, you punch people, I just decide I will roll with it. Hit people, I can destroy houses. Why not? So I was like, you're infinitely powerful, you can do all this, you can lift everything up. I was like, things have no weight, I don't care. Like everything in my game weighs 1 kilogram. So you can do all that stuff. So how did I go about like being infinitely powerful in VR and fixing that? I added superpowers. So it's like, hey, if I can lift stuff up with my hands, how about I can lift stuff up with force? And how about I add bullet time, where the time slows down? This is actually fun, but like lifting stuff with the force just added too much mayhem. I built this really nice city. I was like, okay, people are gonna explore the city. And then I did this. Like, okay, I actually do want people to explore the city, but then bullet time is nice. And then it makes for a really nice thing, so that basically, you are really powerful, and then I add force to the punch anyways. And then when you do that in slow motion, you add even more force. So when the guy comes at you and you punch him in slow motion, and then you disable slow motion, like the force that you punch him with is even more multiplied. So I was like, hey, this is cool. This is a cool like double use of a single feature. And then, so how about I was like, okay, I wanted to have a piece in the game where I'm driving. I was like, okay, how am I gonna go about that? So driving is not that hard. Driving physics are kind of like, have been in video games for centuries. And you have all played driving games a lot. I'm just going to get my notes up. You have all played driving games, but then in VR, what you can do is you can hold the car by the driving wheel and lift it up while you're inside it. And then it just goes wild. So I added this car, I added the driving wheel, I added doors, but it's like, yeah, everything. Yeah, it's sick because like you're in the car and you just lift it up. And then it goes, so what I discovered then is that when the world is spinning, when you have a Vive headset on your head and the world is spinning really fast, and then you take it out, you will not see. It's like as if you looked at the sun for 5 minutes, and then I took it off after it was spinning, and I couldn't see anything. I looked at my screen, I was like, where's the text? And I had to sit down on my couch and wait for 5 minutes for my sight to come back. Actually, so when you have that, just like I tell people to close my eyes, I close my eyes, and if that happens to you, do close your eyes because you can that's really bad. So I was like, okay, so it's hard to drive, like the physics are kind of against you, but it's still fun. It's like driving into people, especially in the van. You can the room scale is a van, you can walk around it, but then it was all screwed up, so you can see that you can fly in the van, but that's still fun. And then yeah, so driving inside the car, it's fun as hell. It's kind of like, it feels like in a normal video game. Of course, trees are indestructible, right? You have to... you have to follow that rule. And then I recently started sending out like early builds of the game to people, and people are like, dude, the driving part is killing me. I almost vomited, like, take it out. But I'm like, hey, this is fun. Like, so this is like, that's fun for me. I was like, woo. So this is, okay, you can soil your pants doing that, but it's like, but it is fun. So the thing the thing about the game is that I can have extra modes where I can put stuff like that. Like, I don't know, do you guys have, who has motion sickness? Oh God, I'm sorry. Because this is fun. But yeah, so I wanted to kind of control the mayhem. I wanted a way where I can kind of have limited control. I don't want to limit people for stuff they can do in the VR. I don't want like this that you cannot live. I don't want doors. I've seen people make games like VR games kind of like have the casual approach. Like it's good, but if you have a game about like picking up a key and opening a door, it's like, this is what I do every day. I didn't buy a $1,000 computer and a $1,000 headset just to open doors, right? And especially that I can put my head inside the door, I can put my hand inside the door, and I can walk through it because it's not real. It's virtual. So why not make a game about ripping doors off? Why not make a game about smashing doors? Why not make, was the Looney Tunes cartoon that they had $1 million? What about that kind of game? Why don't people make these? So it's like, but then you need a bit of control, just to... So it's like, hey, the humans can do a lot of stuff. There's like, yeah, the AI is 2 lines of code. They just do this. But then like, if I attach, this like actually, he's just dragging that along. And then I added a bit of motion, and I wanted to kind of have stuff just happening. And there's a lot of stuff happening that looks nice. It's kind of uncontrollable for the player. Like this is like, you can grab a car, you can pick a human up, but it's just stuff happening and it's crazy. I want to convey that this is a crazy place that you're in. And I wanted to also add more people. So the same thing, like the same principle can be applied to different people and can be applied to animals. So I added a horse. And since, dinosaurs, like whales are also animals, yeah. So I added a whale. I also added a dinosaur, a velociraptor. But they're really dangerous, so watch out because they can fuck up your kitchen really bad. Like, if you've seen that movie about velociraptors in a kitchen, you should know what happens. So yeah, this is like, I think this is what Steven Spielberg saw before he wrote the script for the movie. And then, yeah, this is the most scary thing ever. I put the kitten in there, that is a cute kitten, but like I wanted to grab it and my hands were too big, like the Vive controls are really clumsy. So I made the kitten bigger and that was so scary. Okay, so motion. I did want motion in the game, I still do want motion in the game. So I wanted to make a teaser. The teaser plot was that you're in this office and the phone calls and it goes like moshi moshi. And then the wall breaks and there are a bunch of people who push you out. I managed to grab him and throw him out. But yeah, people come out at you, break a wall, and push you out, and you're like, this is like the play area. When I picked up the phone and put it in my head, I just knocked myself out. So that was a problem. But then I managed to fix it, and it actually felt good. It actually felt like falling out. I was like, wow, this is a nice motion. And when you fall down to the ground, it kind of feels has this scary feeling of it. So steady motion is okay. So what I did was this is a helicopter. It's kind of like steady motion, and the guys are flying at you. So when I figured out steady motion is okay, I added Spider-Man mode. So if you're not motion sick prone, this is really cool. But it's also really hard. Like you can go into the wall. I think like hitting the wall is the scariest thing. I disabled collision, so we'll go inside the building when you do that. But it's still scary as hell. But it's fun. Okay. So that was about motion. Now scale. The thing about scale in the video games is that if you played shooters, you probably noticed that all the corridors, or you didn't. But who did like levels, Quake levels, or Wolfenstein levels, Doom levels, stuff like that? So you know that corridors can't be a meter wide unless you're making Half-Life. They have to be really, really wide. Like 4 meters, that's like standard. Doors, like at least 2 meters, so you can walk through it, you can run through it. Like normally you don't run 60 miles per hour, right? Or like in Doom. So you can have doors like that one. But in video games, you need everything kind of scaled up. And in VR, it's totally different. It's like, you need to retain the scale. A cup needs to be a cup. A table needs to be a table. A chair needs to be a chair. It needs to retain the size because it's relatable to you because you are inside the game, not to a screen and an entity that you have also programmed. So you can't fake the scale. Everything has to be the same way, and also like relatively. So I added space in my game. This is fun. It's kind of also scary. Like so, when I was flying and I knocked this away, I was like, shit, how do I reach this now? It's kind of like the first time for everything is kind of like have this in VR has this scary factor. When I was making the helicopter scene, I accidentally make it so helicopters fly like this, right? They don't fly like this. So of course I made it fly down. So like fly into the water. So what I did is I gasped. Like when the water was going up slowly, I was like, and you just can't stop it. And it's the same here. Like you're like, shit. This like I'm now stranded in space. Wait, I'm not. I'm still in my office. And there's no drag in space. So this is by accident, the wobbly thing. It's still fun, though. So I was like, how do humans move in space? So how about I attach Uzis to their hands so they just like push by the momentum? That actually works. But then you can't fake the scale. So like this is the level. And this is Earth, and it's kind of weird because like with the clipping distances, it's really hard to achieve that. But then like you can't fake it. If you have a small Earth that's really close, like and on a screen, on a 2D screen, you can't see that. But on a 3D screen, you can see that like the Earth is just like a giant inflatable ball that's in the background. So, oh yeah, and I kept forgetting to turn the gravity off, and this is how my game looked like for some time. So, okay, so I did all this. So what I also wanted to have in the game, like I kind of like conceiving stories. So I was like, how am I gonna have a story mode in the game? So I was like, I really had fun just grabbing people and doing stuff with them. Like this is, I tried to teach him to make video games. I think he's doing a great job. He looks like a game developer, right? So I was like, what about if I could record that? What if I could grab stuff and record it? And hey, I added that. And I wanted to have like cutscenes, kind of like cinematic. So just like you can pick stuff like toys and play around with them and then record it and be this like weird toyish cinematic sequences. So I recorded that with playing stuff with toys, and then I took the headset. I didn't have it on my head. I just took it and like I was watching the screen and sliding it like a camera. That's so much fun to do. You feel like Steven Spielberg, like it's dinosaur and a car and a helicopter. So I did that, and I was like, hey, I can have cutscenes now. So I can have the plot. So I have like, the game has an actual plot. But if you want to know more about the plot, I will not talk about it now because we're kind of out of time. Fabian? Yeah, so we're out of time. But it looks like this. And also I thought about what if I have the plot. So I have the plot of there's a mad scientist who decided that bones are the bane of humanity and wanted to get rid of all the bones in the world. But corrected bones to brains when he was developing a toxin. That's like a normal thing for a mad scientist to happen. So accidentally he filled the world with like these boneless, brainless creatures. But I was like, how am I going to present people that are actually still have bones? I was like, hey, how about that? These guys look like they do have bones, right? So I did that, and then I was like, how am I going to conceive the plot? And I added the TV. I was like, hey, how about I have a TV with a pre-recorded messages? So that's, I think, is William here or Kraus people? So I played accounting. I think accounting is the best VR game out there. I was like, hey, this is like, they do have that. It's not a TV, it's not a footage. They do have like people talking to you and it's responsive and that's really cool. So I have this TV with this like guy contacting you, telling you what to do. And I was showing the game around at Gamescom. And what happened is everything went to hell because my workstation broke 2 weeks before Gamescom, and everything went to hell. And then I had to move my flat to another place, and then Gamescom came, and then I had nothing ready. And I wanted to have tutorials, and I didn't have all of this. So what I did, I put the TV in the game, but I didn't have any footage pre-recorded. So it just like feed it with a live feed of a webcam that's outside. So people like on Gamescom would put on the headset, play in and see me outside and be like, I had controls on my keyboard, so it would be like, hey, do you see this? And I spawned a thing, pick this up and go to the left and then put it there and this is how we beat the level. And people are like, oh. And then I show them themselves playing and they're like, oh my God, I'm in the video game, in the video game, in the video game. And that was so cool. So then I thought, how about if I use that to hijack, if I build a backdoor in the game and maybe like hijack all of the currently playable games with the footage of my face on every texture. Like, but yeah, I still need to do that, but that sounds fun. So anyways, this is the story of how I started to make Mosh Pit Simulator and all the stuff that I came across that I find interesting. And if you have more questions, just email me. Do you have time for questions? We have no time for questions. So Twitter me, email me, or catch me here. And like to make sure, I actually went into a mosh pit to do footage, to do research. This is research. To do research for the video game. So it's all backed, scientifically backed video game. And that's it. Thank you very much.